Okay, looks like we got about all ages here.
Oh yeah.
Okay guys, welcome to the bee house. But we're on a strawberry farm and I'm going to talk to you about honeybees. Anybody know why honeybees are so important on a strawberry farm?
They pollinate the crops.
They pollinate the flowers, yes. You remember and you probably saw them on your hayride, and you'll see them when you pick the little white flowers, the blossoms with the yellow center. Well, that yellow center turns to the strawberry. And it's got the pollen in it. And pollen is what makes a lot of people with allergies in the springtime, their eyes water, their nose
like
runs.
yellow flowers.
Mm-hmm. But for us to grow the strawberries, we've got to get some of that pollen from one flower to another. So for that, we use honeybees. The way a honeybee works so well is, you guys ever ride along in the car and you stop and get out and touch the car and get shocked? That ever happen? Well, that's called static electricity, and that happened because the car was moving through the air. The friction of the air on the car created that static electricity. You ever notice how dusty TV screens, computer screens get? Static electricity that attracts dust. So when a honeybee flies through the air like that car moving through the air, the friction of the air on the hair of on the body of the honeybee creates static electricity. Then when she lands on a flower, the pollen, which is like the dust on your TV screen, sticks to that hair. She'll fly to another flower, some of that pollen will get brushed off, she'll pick up some from that hive, so on and so forth to every flower she visits. So here's a picture of a honeybee that's been visiting flowers, and you can see that yellow pollen sticking in the hair on her body, up on her head, back on her
And
thorax,
that's a kid.
back on her abdomen. But she also puts some on her back leg in what we call a pollen basket. And she takes that back to the beehive, and the bees in the hive will clean it off, mix it with nectar and honey, and make what's called bee bread. They store that away in the cell and it ferments, and that's the protein that they need to feed the new bees, the larvae. 3 different bees in a beehive. Can anybody think of one of them? But they're all honeybees.
Killer bees.
No, I hope not.
Actually,
The queen, that's one.
The worker bees.
The worker, that's 2. We need a third one.
Honeybees.
They all start out as babies.
Larvae?
Larvae, they all start out as larvae. Well, they start out as an egg and then go to larvae. You know these little helicopters and little flying aircraft so big that people flies around with remote controls?
Yeah.
You know what they're called?
Drones.
Drones. That's what a male bee is called, a drone. So we've got the queen and the workers, and they're female, and the drone is the male. So here's what the queen looks like. She's got a long abdomen, a long tail, that she can stick down in these cells and lay an egg in the bottom of them. And she can lay between 1,500 and 2,000 eggs a day. In her lifetime, she can lay over 1 million eggs, but that's her only job, is to lay eggs. So when they took this picture, she's got her abdomen stuck down in that cell right there, laying an egg in the bottom of it. It'll be standing right up on end. Notice the red mark on her? Any ideas why the beekeeper put that red mark on her?
Queen bee.
She's a queen, right, but why did he put it on her?
So he knows not to smash her?
So he can find her, right? There might be 50 or 60,000 bees in that hive. See how easy it is to see that red mark? But the main reason he does it, it reminds him of how old she is. We use 5 different colors, red, white, green, yellow, and blue. A queen born this year, 2017, will have a yellow mark. Last year was white, next year will be red, then green, then blue, and it starts all over again. And that's anywhere you go in the world, that's a universal marking system for the queens. And this is where the queen grew up. That little egg was laid down in the bottom of the cell and hatches out into a little larva, and then the nurse bees feed it a lot of this white milky substance called royal jelly. It's really high energy, rich food, makes her grow really fast. 16 days after that egg was laid, her head is down here. She'll chew a hole in the end and crawl out into the hive. Takes a worker 21 days and takes the drone 24 days. So here's two worker bees, and like I said, they're females also. They've got their tongues stuck together. Any ideas on what they're doing?
They share pollen.
Not pollen,
Honey.
the nectar, right? One of them's job is to go out to the flower. That's a foraging bee. Bring the nectar into the hive. Now she gives it to the receiver bee, and her job is to make it into the honey. She starts out by blowing little bubbles. And as she blows the bubbles, more and more of the water part of the nectar evaporates. When it gets so thick, then she'll put it down in these cells, and then they'll fan it with their wings to remove the rest of the moisture that they need to before they put a cap on it. And this is where the worker bee grew up. That little egg was laid in the bottom of that cell, and it was an egg for 3 days. And then it hatched out into this little white larva, and nurse bees come through and feed it. How many times a day do you guys eat?
3.
3, maybe 4 with a snack. This has to be fed 50 times a day. So 50 times a day, nurse bees come through and feed
Wow.
it until day 9. And then they put a cap on it. You guys know about butterfly cocoons?
Yeah.
This is a bee's cocoon, exactly the same thing. So from day 9 to day 21, because this is a worker, she's in her cocoon. Then she chews the cap off her cell and crawls out and goes to work. She might be a nurse bee that takes care of the larvae, the new bees. She might be one of the special bees that gets to take care of the queen, to clean her and feed her. She might be one of the bees that makes the beeswax. She might be a housekeeping bee and turn around and stick her head right back down in the cell she crawled out of and clean it. You guys all clean your rooms, don't you? She has to clean her room because the queen won't lay another egg in here until it's clean.
Oh.
Then we get to the male bee, and remember what he was called?
Drone.
A drone.
Yeah, it's true.
Just like guys, he's lazy. He doesn't do any work at all. He just hangs around and eats the honey that the girls bring in. Sounds like a pretty neat job, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah, but guess what happens when the leaves start to fall off the tree and the nights get cooler? The girls get mad at him and they throw him out. They're not gonna let him stay in that warm hive all winter and eat the honey that they took them all summer to bring in. And it will be somewhat warm in there because as it gets colder outside, the bees get closer together until they're in a cluster. The bees inside that cluster will eat honey, shiver their wing muscles, and that creates heat. Even though it's below 0 outside, it'll be 92 to 94 degrees inside that cluster. Then as they get fed and warm, they move to the outside, the colder bees move in, and they do that all winter as they go up through the hive. But it takes enough bees and enough honey for that to work. So this is what the drone looks like. Chubby body, great big eyes, but he hasn't got a stinger. So a drone can't sting you. A queen has a stinger, but she only stings other queens, and a worker would be the one that stings us. A honeybee is the only bee that leaves its stinger in you after it stings you, because its stinger's got little barbs on, kind of like a fish hook. So it gets caught and pulls loose from the bee. If you ever get stung with a honeybee and there's a stinger there, you don't want to just grab it and pull it out, or take tweezers and pull it out, because on the end of that stinger is a little sac of bee venom. And if you grab it, you just squish that much more, kind of like taking a shot with a needle. So you want to take a fingernail, credit card, or something that you can scrape it off, but don't grab it and pull it out. And the quicker you can do it, the better, because even though that stinger is no longer attached to the bee, it's still pumping, trying to pump that venom in. So the quicker you get it off, and by scratching it off, scraping it off, the less it will affect your sting. Now this time of year, especially for the last 5 or 6 weeks, there's a lot of nectar coming into the hive, so the bees are in a hurry. They just stuff it anywhere they can. And the queen runs out of room to lay eggs. So the old queen and about half of the colony will leave. And that's called a swarm. And they'll fly a few feet, a few yards out away from the hive and land on something. Maybe the ground, a car, mailbox, post, bicycle. These ones landed on the branch of a tree. And then they send out scout bees, and those scout bees are looking for a new home. When they find a place they like, they come back and they walk around and they do a waggle dance. They'll shake, and then they'll turn, and they'll go back, and they'll shake. Depending on how they do their dance, the rest of the bees know exactly how far and in what direction the new home is, and then they can all go to it.
I know that because.
We watch Ron Street School Bus.
So here's the beekeeper checking his bees to see if the queen's laying eggs, to see if they're making honey. Why do you suppose he's wearing this on his head?
So he doesn't get
So
stung.
So he doesn't get stung. His eye. He has to protect his eyes because remember, the stinger stays behind. So if he gets stung right in the eye, now he's got a stinger there. He could lose his eyesight. It'd be kind of hard to scrape it off too. So he has to protect his eyes. You know there's places you can buy bees. And some places you can go and pick them up. But some people will have them shipped into the post office. And they'll come in a box like this. When they come to the post office, the people at the post office will call you and tell you your bees are in. Then they'll call you about 15 minutes later and say, I said your bees are in. And then they'll call you again and say, are you coming to pick up your bees? And then when you get down there, they've got them in the box in a plastic tote and they come and carry them out like this. But they'll be in a package like this, be about 10,000 bees.
Wow.
There'll be a little can of sugar syrup with holes in it, and that's food for them to eat while they're in the mail. Then there'll be this little thing, and inside this would be the queen and 5 or 6 bees that came out of the same hive she did, because none of these bees came out of the same hive, so they put her in here to protect her, because those bees could harm her or kill her. Then they'll fill this up with a little white sugar candy and put a cork in the end. When we get the package of bees, we'll take this out, take the cork out and put this in the hive and dump the rest of the bees in. It'll take another 2, 3, sometimes 4 days for them to eat that sugar candy. And by that time, they recognize the queen and she can crawl out and start laying eggs. Well, we'll raise our own queens and we'll take that little newly hatched larva, less than 24 hours old, put it in a little plastic cup, hang this in a hive that hasn't got a queen, and the bees feed it a lot of that white royal jelly. They make this out of wax, kind of looks like a peanut, doesn't it? 16 days after that egg was laid, she'll chew that hole in the end and crawl out into the hive. Now, I know you guys already been on your hayride. Did you see beehives up along the edge of the woods?
Yep.
Hey, the queen that was in, you didn't?
I
Missed it.
They were there.
did. I
Were you taking a nap or what? You weren't. Well, the queen that was in here was in one of those hives, and I usually have the guys to wave at her when they go by, but since you guys already went. If you was gonna wave at her when you went by, how would you do it? She's got it. Remember, she's a queen. So you gotta give her the queen. You guys want,
Like that.
you guys want to see some bees?
No.
Don't let me get.
About lost the judge, didn't we? Guys want to come on up and see? We'll see if we can find the queen. It's on this side. Right there, she ain't got a mark on her.
Oh,
I can't see. I'm doing
we'll take turns.
So once you've seen the queen, you guys in the front,
It's right there.
you can walk around to the other side.
What color is she marked with?
She hadn't got a mark on her. The
Oh.
queen that was in the cage had a mark,
Yeah.
and I think when they shook the package of bees, they shook an extra queen in.
Oh,
So when
okay.
that one emerged, they fought it out, and there's your winner.
Oh, they fought it out.
Yep.
And so the one kills the other, right?
Yep.
Oh.
Well, sometimes you'll have 2 or 3 queens in a hive, normally one, but you'll have 2 or 3, but it's usually a mother-daughter thing
These
with the
are
pheromones
Oh,
are so
okay.
close
Yeah.
together.
Because see all their holes. What's those ones up there? Are those just extras?
They started building those, but it has to be warm enough and enough bees and